Hello, guys. Welcome you all to the Insights into Books podcast. Let's start today's discussion, guys. Today, we're not just looking at a book. We are really dissecting a kind of cultural phenomenon. We're looking at a text that started its life as a commencement speech, spoken to a probably hungover crowd of college grads in a football stadium.
Right. And somehow it just morphed into this global manifesto for resilience.
Exactly. We are diving deep into the wisdom of Admiral William H. McRaven.
And it's great to be here. And you are so right to frame it that way. I mean, usually commencement speeches are forgotten before the caps even hit the ground, aren't they?
Oh, completely. They're just full of fluff and platitudes.
But this one, it went viral. I'm talking millions and millions of views. It just resonated on a frequency that most speeches, well, they just never touch.
And that speech gave birth to the book we're covering today. Make Your Bed. Little things that can change your life, and maybe the world. And before we get into the whole making the bed part, which, let's be honest, it sounds kind of deceptively simple, maybe even a little soft, we really need to establish who we're dealing with.
Yeah, that context is everything.
Admiral McRaven isn't a life coach. He's just some guru who sat on a mountaintop meditating for 30 years.
No, far from it. This is a man who spent something like 37 years as a Navy SEAL?
37 years.
He commanded at every single level of the special operations community. I mean, to put it bluntly, for anyone who might not know the name, this is the guy who oversaw the raid that got bin Laden.
Wow.
He was in charge of the rescue of Captain Phillips from the Somali pirates. This is a man whose entire philosophy was forged in these incredibly high-stakes, life-or-death pressure cookers.
That is the context we have to lock in, because when he stands up at the University of Texas in 2014, and he's looking at these kids about to go into marketing or medicine or whatever,
right,
he doesn't give them corporate jargon. He takes them back to the beach.
Specifically, the sand of Coronado, California. Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training. BUDS.
BUDS.
And it is widely considered the most grueling 6 months of physical endurance training in the modern military. It is literally designed to break you.
To find your breaking point.
And then just push right past it.
And his argument, and this is our mission to unpack today, is that that breaking process, it's universal. You don't need to carry a rifle or wear a wetsuit to understand what it feels like to be crushed by life.
Exactly. The sand is a metaphor. The cold water is a metaphor. The obstacles are all metaphors.
Right.
Whether you're navigating a messy divorce, a bankruptcy, a health crisis, or just the daily grinding stress of a tough job, the physics of survival are the same. And McRaven boils it down to 10 specific lessons.
So let's walk through those gates at Coronado. Let's start with lesson number 1, the foundational habit. Start your day with a task completed.
It starts in the barracks. Picture the scene. It's early. The sun is not up yet. You're a trainee. You are exhausted from the day before. Your muscles are just screaming.
I can't even imagine.
But before you do anything else, before you eat, before you even stretch, you have to attend to your bed.
Okay, now for everyone listening, we are not talking about just pulling the duvet up and tossing a pillow on it. I want you to walk us through the mechanics. How specific was this?
Oh, it was surgical. McRaven describes the rack, that's the Navy term for the bed. It's a simple steel frame, wire mesh, a thin mattress. But the preparation, it had to be immaculate.
Immaculate how?
The bottom sheet had to be tucked in with 0 wrinkles. I mean, not a single crease. The top sheet had to be pulled so tight that if you dropped a quarter on it, the quarter would physically bounce.
A quarter bounce test. That's a real thing.
It is absolutely a real thing. It sounds like something out of a movie, but it's real. And it didn't stop there.
There's more.
Oh, yeah. The blankets had to be folded at the foot of the bed. But not just folded. They had to be perfectly centered. The pillow had to be centered exactly under the headboard.
And what about the quarters?
The hospital corners, the way you fold the sheets at the corner of the mattress, had to be at perfect 45-degree angles.
Okay, so here's the skeptic in me coming out. These men are training to be elite warriors. They're learning to jump out of planes, to do underwater demolitions, to fight terrorists in close quarters. Why on earth are the instructors, who are hardened Vietnam vets, obsessing over a 45-degree angle on a bed sheet? It feels like busy work. It feels frankly like hazing.
It does feel like hazing. And to the trainees in that moment, it probably felt like madness. Why does my pillow placement matter if I can shoot straight?
Exactly.
But McRaven argues this is the first psychological victory of the day. You have to look at the environment. BUDS training is pure chaos.
Right.
You are cold, you are wet, you're constantly being yelled at, you're physically broken down. You have almost no control over your own life. The instructors control when you eat, when you sleep, and when you suffer.
So the bed is the one variable you can actually control.
Precisely. By completing this mundane task to an impossibly high standard, you're establishing this little foothold of order in a world of total chaos. It provides a small sense of pride. You look at it and you can say, I did that, it's perfect.
It's a little dopamine hit, isn't it? A tiny one, but a hit.
It is, and this isn't just some military superstition, there's real science here.
Okay.
McRaven touches on it, but if you dig into the work of researchers like Teresa Amabile and Stephen Kramer, they wrote a fascinating study called the Progress Principle. You see the data.
What did they find?
They analyzed thousands of diary entries from workers in all sorts of industries, and they found that the single biggest predictor of a best day at work was a sense of progress.
Even small progress.
Especially small progress. And conversely, the worst days were defined by setbacks. So let's translate that. If you wake up, hit snooze 3 times, rush around looking for your keys, leave clothes on the floor.
You've started your day with a deficit.
Exactly. You've started with chaos. Your brain is already in a reactive, disorganized state.
Whereas if you make the bed, you trigger a domino effect.
You do. One task completed encourages another. You make the bed, then you brush your teeth, then you make breakfast, then you tackle your emails. It sets a trajectory of discipline for the whole day.
And he saw this apply even outside of training, right?
Absolutely. Years later, when he was in Iraq and Afghanistan, visiting these forward operating bases, he'd see the same thing. He even mentions visiting Saddam Hussein after he was captured.
Oh, that's right. Tell us about that.
It's a fascinating contrast. Saddam was being held by U.S. forces, and McRaven went to see him. He noticed that Saddam, this former supreme dictator who lived in golden palaces, was living in absolute squalor.
Not just because he was in a cell.
No, because of his own lack of personal discipline. His bed was a mess. His area was just chaotic.
And for McRaven, that disorder signaled a disordered mind, a defeated mind.
Right. But there's a second layer to the bed making that I think is even more profound. Let's call it the bad day safety net.
I love this concept. Because let's be real, sometimes you can make your bed perfectly, you have your coffee, you head out, and the day just absolutely kicks your teeth in.
It happens to everyone. You bomb the big presentation, you lose a client, you get into a fight with your partner, you come home feeling totally defeated, your self-esteem is just in the gutter.
And then you walk into your bedroom.
And you see that bed. The corners are sharp, the pillow is centered, the covers are tight.
It's like a message from your morning self.
It is. It's a visual reminder that you have discipline. That you can create order. It's a reminder that tomorrow is a fresh start. McRaven says a made bed gives you encouragement. It tells you that even if the world is burning down, you have this one sanctuary of order that you created.
You maintained your own standard.
Yeah, you did.
So, step 1 to changing the world. Fix your immediate environment. Start small. Okay, let's move from the bedroom to the beach. Lesson number 2. This is about interconnectedness. The idea that you can't go it alone.
To get this, we have to look at the boat crew. In SEAL training, the class is broken down into crews of 7 men, and they are assigned a small rubber Zodiac boat.
And this boat is their constant burden, isn't it?
Literally, they have to carry it on their heads everywhere they go. They run with it, they eat with it. But the real test is the surf passage.
What's that?
They have to paddle this little rubber boat from the beach through the breaking waves out into the open ocean.
And we're not talking about a calm lake here. This is San Diego in the winter.
Winter swells. We're talking waves that are 8-10 feet high, plunging waves, the kind of waves that can snap a surfboard or a spine in half. It is a violent, chaotic place to be.
So you've got 7 guys, 1 boat, and a wall of water coming right at you. What's the key to survival?
Synchronization. That is the only thing that matters. You have 3 guys paddling on the right, 3 on the left, and a coxswain in the back steering. Every single paddle has to dig into that water at the exact same millisecond.
And what happens if there's a hero on the boat? You know, someone who wants to paddle harder than everyone else to show off.
The boat fails?
Or someone who slacks off because they're tired.
The boat fails. If one side paddles harder or weaker, the boat turns. And if that boat turns sideways in the surf zone, they call it broaching, the wave hits the side of the boat and just flips it into the air.
Total disaster.
Bodies go flying. Equipment gets lost. It's chaos. You get dumped back on the beach.
This feels like a direct attack on that whole American myth of the self-made man, doesn't it? We love that image. The lone cowboy. The solo genius in the garage.
It is exactly that. McRaven is completely dismantling the idea of the lone wolf. He's saying that in the surf zone of life, you physically cannot punch through those waves alone. You need a crew.
You can't generate enough power by yourself.
Not even close. You can't overcome the resistance of the ocean. And he's not just talking about work colleagues here.
No, he's talking about the whole ecosystem of support.
Friends, family, mentors. He even talks about the goodwill of strangers. He shares a really vulnerable story about his own career to illustrate this point.
The parachute accident.
Yes. This wasn't during training. This was much later. He was a seasoned officer. It was a routine jump that went horribly wrong. He collided with another jumper in midair. His chute got tangled.
Oh, wow.
When the chute finally opened, the shock was so severe it basically ripped his body apart. His pelvis was broken in multiple places. His back was fractured.
This is a guy who is used to being the toughest person in any room. And suddenly, he's in a hospital bed. He can't even move.
He was completely broken. And he admits he fell into a deep depression. He thought his career was over. He wondered if he'd ever be Admiral McRaven again. And he realized he couldn't just will himself to get better.
He needed his boat crew.
He needed his wife, Georgian, to nurse him, to clean him, to encourage him. He needed his superior officers, who could have easily just medically discharged him, to fight for him to stay in the Navy. He realized that even the toughest warrior is incredibly fragile.
I think that's a hard pill for a lot of high achievers to swallow. We like to think we're independent.
We do.
But his point is, find someone to help you paddle. Because the waves will come. You will get sick. You will get fired. You will lose someone you love.
And when that wave hits, you better have a crew that already knows the rhythm. You better have invested in those relationships before you need them.
Which brings us perfectly to lesson number 3. If you need a crew, who do you want in that boat with you? This is the lesson of grit over talent. Or, as he puts it, only the size of your heart matters.
This is maybe my favorite story in the whole book because it's so cinematic. It's the story of the Munchkin crew.
The Munchkin crew. I love that name.
So in the boat crews, they usually group the guys by height just because it makes carrying the boat on your heads easier.
Right. Makes sense.
If you mix tall and short guys, it's a disaster. So McRaven, he was in one of the tall boats. But there was this one boat made up of all the shortest guys in the class. The cutoff was 5'5".
These are the little guys.
The little guys. And it was a total melting pot. He lists them off to make a point about diversity. An American Indian, an African American, a Polish American, a Greek American, an Italian American, and a couple of tough kids from the Midwest.
So they look like a casting call for some goofy platoon movie.
Pretty much. And I assume the big guys, the guys in the tall boat with the rippling muscles, they gave them hell.
Oh, relentlessly. They mocked them. They called them the Munchkins. They made fun of their tiny little flippers.
Flippers they swim with.
Yeah, because in swimming, having long legs and big feet is a huge biomechanical advantage. These guys were, on paper, at a disadvantage. They just had less leverage.
But I have a feeling the biology lesson didn't quite matter in the end.
It did not. Come the open ocean swims or the paddle battles, the Munchkin crews started winning.
They bit the tall guys.
They smoked the tall guys.
How? I mean, if the physics were against them, how did they win?
Because the tall guys were relying on their genetics. They were relying on their natural gifts. They kind of thought they had it in the bag. The Munchkin crew, though, they had a chip on their shoulder.
They had something to prove.
Exactly. They dug deeper, they paddled faster, they synchronized perfectly because they knew they couldn't afford a single mistake. Their technique had to be flawless.
It's the classic tortoise and the hare, but with, a lot more hypothermia.
Exactly. And the takeaway here is that SEAL training is the great equalizer. The ocean does not care who your father was. It doesn't care if you went to Harvard or if you dropped out of high school.
It doesn't care how much money you have. It only cares about one thing. Will you keep swimming?
Measure a person by the size of their heart, not the size of their flippers.
That's the quote. And for anyone listening, if you're hiring people, if you're looking for a partner in business or life, stop just looking at the resume. Stop looking at the flippers.
Look for that Munchkin energy.
Yes, look for the person who has been underestimated their whole life and is just dying to outwork the talented guys. That's who you want in your foxhole.
Okay, lesson number 4. We're getting into the darker side of training now. This is about the acceptance of injustice. And it features a concept with a deceptively sweet name, the sugar cookie.
The sugar cookie. It sounds like a treat. It is. It is a form of torture.
Walk us through the ritual. I want to feel the misery.
Okay, so it revolves around the uniform inspection. As we've said, discipline is everything. So the students spend hours prepping their uniforms, polishing the brass belt buckle until it's a mirror,
Right.
starching their hat so it's stiff as a board, pressing their fatigues so the creases could cut paper.
You want to be perfect. You want to show the instructor you care and you've put in the work.
You want to be perfect. You stand there at attention. The instructor walks down the line. He stops in front of you, looks you up and down. Your uniform is flawless. And then he just shakes his head.
Ugh.
He'll find something, a piece of lint, or he'll just say the starch isn't stiff enough.
Or maybe he just doesn't like the look of you that day.
Exactly. And he orders you into the surf.
So you have to run into the cold ocean, fully clothed.
Soaking wet. Boots, fatigues, heavy belt, all of it. Then you have to run back onto the beach and roll around in the soft sand until every single inch of your body is covered.
So it sticks to the wet fabric.
It sticks everywhere. It gets down your neck and your ears and your eyes.
You look like a sugar-coated cookie.
Hence the name. But here's the kicker. You don't get to wash it off. You spend the rest of the day training in that condition. Cold. Wet.
Yeah.
And the sand, it's like sandpaper. It just chafes your skin raw with every single movement.
That sounds physically miserable.
Mm-hmm.
But the real game here is mental, isn't it?
It is 100% mental. McRaven talks about the students who couldn't handle being a sugar cookie. And they weren't the physically weak ones. Often they were the best athletes.
So what was their problem?
They were the ones who couldn't handle the injustice of it.
They're the ones whispering to themselves, but my belt buckle was shiny. This isn't fair. I did everything right.
Exactly. They were looking for logic. They were looking for a direct correlation between their effort and the reward. I did the work, so I deserve the pass. They believed in a just world.
But the lesson is, the world isn't just. Life isn't fair.
That's the brutal truth. Sometimes you're going to prepare the perfect report and the boss hates it because he's having a bad day. Sometimes you are the best candidate and you don't get the promotion because of politics or nepotism. Sometimes you do everything right and you still get sick.
And you spend your time complaining about the injustice.
You fail. You just expend all your energy on being a victim. McRaven calls it the victim mentality trap. The students who quit were the ones who couldn't get over the unfairness.
And the ones who succeeded.
They were the ones who could stand up, metaphorically shake off the sand, and just drive on.
Get over being a sugar cookie. That is some tough love, but it's essential. You have to decouple your effort from the expectation of a fair result. You do the work because it's the work, not because you expect a pat on the back.
Exactly. Look forward, not backward at the injustice.
Okay, lesson number 5. We've dealt with unfairness. Now let's deal with straight-up failure. This is strengthening through failure, and it introduces us to the circus.
The Circus. Another one of those innocuous names for a house of horrors. In BUDS, every single event has a standard. A 4-mile run in a certain time, a 2-mile swim, the obstacle course. If you fail to meet that time...
Your name goes on a list, the list nobody wants to be on.
Right, because if your name is on that list, when the other students go to eat or get to rest, you have to report to the circus.
And what is a circus?
It's 2 hours of extra, brutal, high-intensity calisthenics, hundreds of push-ups, flutter kicks until your abs cramp, pull-ups until your hands are bleeding.
All while the instructors are just screaming at you.
Screaming, harassing you, trying to make you quit.
Now, logically, this seems like a death spiral. If I'm too slow on the run today because I'm tired, and then you make me do 2 hours of extra work, I'm just going to be even more tired tomorrow.
So you'll fail again.
And go to the circus again and again until I quit.
That is the fear. That is why students are terrified of the circus. They see it as a punishment that just leads to inevitable failure.
But McRaven noticed something strange happening.
He did. He noticed that the guys who were constantly on the circus list, the guys who were struggling, the so-called failures, they started to change.
How so?
As the weeks went on, their run times actually started improving. Their swim times got better.
Why?
Because they were doing more work. They were doing thousands of extra reps. The punishment was actually making them stronger.
The circus was a forge.
It was a forge. And the life application here is just so profound. We are terrified of failure. We hide our failures. We're ashamed of them. But McRaven is saying, do not fear the circus.
So failure involves suffering, yes. But if you can survive the suffering, you come out the other side with a capacity that the people who never failed simply don't have.
The guys who cruised through training without ever making the circus list, yeah, they were strong. But the guys who lived in the circus and survived, they were unbreakable. They had built this mental callus.
So if you're listening to this and you feel like you're failing, if you're putting in extra hours and not seeing results, maybe you're just in the circus. And maybe that's building the muscle you need for the next chapter.
Life is filled with circuses. You will fail. You will probably fail often, and it will be painful. It will be discouraging. But if you refuse to quit, that failure is what generates your strength.
Which moves us to lesson number 6. This is about taking risks, and we have to talk about the slide for life.
The slide for life. This is a massive obstacle on the course. Picture a tower, it's about 30 feet high, and then another shorter tower. Between them is a thick rope, 200 feet long.
And then your job is just to get from the high tower to the low tower.
Right. Now, there's a standard, safe way to do this. You hang underneath the rope, you hook your legs over it, and you just inch your way down, hand over hand, like a sloth.
It's slow, it's grinding.
Yeah.
But it's secure. You are not likely to fall.
Correct. But there was a time record for the obstacle course, and you physically could not break the record doing the sloth crawl. To break that record, you had to do the unthinkable.
You had to go down the top of the rope.
Head first.
I just want everyone to visualize this. You are 30 feet in the air. You are laying on top of a thick rope, pulling yourself head first down this incline. If you slip,
you fall, you break bones, you're out of training. It's incredibly risky. And McRaven admits he was afraid. He didn't want to do it. He wanted to be the sloth. The sloth is safe.
But he wanted to lead, right? He wanted to be an officer. And he realized he couldn't do that from the safety of the sloth position.
He had to dare greatly. He took the risk. He went head first. He flew down that rope, and he broke the record.
And the lesson isn't just go do dangerous things.
No, of course not. The lesson is that you cannot reach your full potential by always playing it safe. If you want to change the world, if you want to innovate, if you want to be a leader, you have to accept risk. You have to be willing to slide down the rope head first.
It's the difference between playing not to lose and playing to win. The sloth plays not to lose.
And the head first slider plays to win. That's a perfect distinction. And sometimes you will fall. That brings us right back to the circus. But you have to take the shot.
Lesson number 7, courage. Specifically, courage in hostile environments, or as I like to call it, the shark lesson.
This is the one that just triggers all my primal fears. Part of SEAL training involves these long ocean swims at night.
In the pitch black.
In the pitch black. And for the training in San Diego, they swim off San Clemente Island, which just so happens to be a known breeding ground for great white sharks.
I mean, that just seems unnecessary. That sounds like excessive cruelty.
Chuckles. It separates the wheat from the chaff, I guess. But here's the thing. The instructors know the sharks are there. The students know the sharks are there. And before the swim, the instructors give a briefing on what to do if you encounter one.
And what is the official protocol for a great white encounter?
Rule number 1, do not swim away. Do not act like prey. If a shark begins to circle you, you stand your ground, you rotate with it, you face it.
Okay. And if it actually attacks?
If it lunges, you punch it, right in the snout.
You punch the apex predator in the nose.
It sounds insane, but it works. Sharks, like all bullies, are looking for an easy meal. They are looking for fear. If you show aggression, if you show you are not afraid, they will often back down and go look for easier prey.
And the metaphor here is pretty obvious.
The world is full of sharks, bullies, tyrants, toxic bosses, people who thrive on the fear of others.
And McRaven makes the point that these people rely on your fear to gain their power.
They do. If you swim away, if you cower, if you appease them, if you try to be nice to the shark, they will chase you. They will eat you alive.
So the only way to deal with a bully, whether it's in the schoolyard or the boardroom, is to stand your ground.
You have to be willing to punch the snow.
Right.
It requires immense courage. Of course you're terrified, but you act brave. And sometimes just acting brave is enough to completely change the dynamic.
Courage is not the absence of fear.
It's action in spite of fear. That's the lesson of the shark swim. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to hold your ground.
Lesson number 8, resilience in tragedy, or rising to the occasion.
This lesson takes us into the literal darkness. McRaven talks about combat swimmer missions where you're underwater attacking an enemy ship.
Okay.
It's night, the water is murky, you cannot see your own hand in front of your face, you're totally alone with your thoughts and your equipment.
It sounds completely disorienting.
It is, and in that darkness, it is so easy to panic, to lose your bearing, to get turned around and run out of air. But that is the exact moment when you must be your absolute best.
And he connects this to the darkness of life.
The death of a loved one, the loss of a child, a crushing personal tragedy. These are the moments where the lights go out in your life. You are in that dark water.
And the natural instinct is to just curl up and die, to let the grief consume you.
But McRaven says this is when you have to find your inner structure. You have to reach deep, deep inside and find calm. You have to find composure. He talks about his parachute accident again here.
Lying in the hospital.
In pain, uncertain of his future. He knew he had to signal to his team, to his family, and most importantly to himself that he would be okay.
It's about bearing. Even when you are physically or emotionally broken, you maintain your bearing. Because if you crumble, the people relying on you will crumble too.
Exactly. In the darkest moment, you must be the light. You have to force yourself to be calm for others.
Which leads perfectly into lesson number 9. Being the light. The power of hope.
This is the Hell Week story. The mud flats.
Set the scene for us. This is the hardest part of the hardest military training in the world.
It's week 9. It's Hell Week. The students have had virtually no sleep for 6 days. They are hallucinating from exhaustion. They are broken. And the instructors take them to the Tijuana sloughs.
It's a swamp.
It's a freezing mud pit. The mud is bone-chillingly cold. The wind is howling off the ocean. And the instructors order the entire class into the mud up to their necks.
Wow.
They have to stay there for hours, watching the sun go down, shaking uncontrollably from hypothermia. Their teeth are chattering so hard they feel like they could break.
And then the instructors start to play a game.
A psychological game.
Yeah.
They bring out hot coffee and donuts, they build a warm fire on the dry ground, and they say, we can start this right now. You can all come out and get warm. All we need is for 5 of you to quit.
Just 5 men. Out of the whole class, if 5 guys ring the bell, everyone gets out of the mud.
It's a devil's bargain. It's designed to turn the students against each other. You start looking at the guy shivering next to you thinking, just quit, man. Give up so I can be warm. The resolve of the class is just breaking.
You can feel the capitulation coming.
It feels inevitable. It's too cold to survive. And then...
Then what?
A voice. One student. He starts singing.
Singing. In the middle of all that.
Singing. McRaven says it was a terrible voice. It was raspy, off-key, probably delirious from the cold and lack of sleep. But he was singing.
And the instructors.
They went ballistic, screamed at him to shut up, threatened him with more time in the mud, but he just kept singing. And then another student joined in, then another, and soon the whole class was singing in the mud.
And McRaven says that something physically changed in that moment.
He does. He says the mud seemed a little warmer, the wind seemed a little tamer, the dawn seemed a little closer, because hope had entered the equation.
The analysis here is that hope is a force multiplier.
It is the most powerful force in the universe. Think about history's greatest leaders. Washington, Lincoln, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela. These were individuals who, when their people were up to their necks in mud, they started singing.
They refused to accept the darkness.
And by singing, they gave permission for everyone else to be brave. One person can change the world just by giving other people hope. You don't have to be a general. You just have to be the one who starts the song when everyone else is ready to give up.
And that brings us to the final lesson. Lesson number 10. The determination, never, ever quit.
And it all comes down to the bell.
The brass bell that hangs in the center of the training compound.
It's always there, watching them, shining. And the rule is so simple, ring it twice, and you're out.
Ring it twice, and all the pain stops.
Instantly. You get a hot shower, you get a hot meal, you get a warm, dry bed. All you have to do is ring the bell.
It's the ultimate temptation, just sitting there.
It is. But the cost. The cost is your soul. In a way, you have quit. You have defined yourself as a person who rings the bell when things get hard.
And McRaven's final lesson is the simplest of all if you want to change the world.
Don't ring the bell. Just don't do it. If you refuse to quit, you cannot be defeated. You might be delayed, you might be battered, you might go to the circus 1,000 times. But if you don't ring the bell, you are still in the fight.
So let's synthesize all of this. We have 10 lessons. We start with making the bed. We end with not ringing the bell.
It's a whole journey of character, isn't it? It starts with discipline, controlling what you can. It moves to connection, finding your boat crew. It embraces grit over talent, the munchkins.
Right.
It accepts reality, the sugar cookie. It uses failure as fuel, the circus. It takes risks, the rope. It fights bullies, the sharks. It finds calm in tragedy. It generates hope, the singing. And above all, it just persists.
And what I love is McRaven's math on this. He talks about the geometric progression of how you can change the world.
That's right. He says, look, changing the world doesn't mean you have to be a president or a four-star admiral. It means changing the lives of the 10 people closest to you.
And if each of those 10 people then goes on to change the lives of 10 more.
In just 5 generations, about 125 years, you have positively affected 800 million people.
That is just staggering. It means your small acts of discipline and courage and hope ripple out in ways you will never, ever see.
Exactly. You're planting trees under whose shade you will never sit, but you still have to plant them.
So here's a provocative thought for our listeners to take away today. I want you to look at your life right now. Where are you ringing the bell?
That's a powerful question.
Where are you opting for that easy short-term relief instead of pushing through for the long-term victory? And conversely, where can you start singing? Who in your life is in the mud right now and needs you to be the one who starts the song?
And I would add one more challenge. Go make your bed. It sounds silly, but just try it tomorrow morning. Make it perfectly. And see if it doesn't change the way you walk out the door.
This was it on today's book, guys. And guys, kindly subscribe and follow us for more such insights on various books. And also, do not forget to join our social media community, stay in touch, and get updated.